Welcome again in Shifaa Online TV. I'm Dalila Hamza as we dig deep down into social studies and get a bit of our statistic and people and population according to our teacher, Mr. Bashir. Just a tip of an iceberg, people and population. Remember that you should maintain social distance, though we're going to learn more from it. Mr. Bashir is going to take us over. Let's get going.
Morning, dear viewers. Once again, welcome to today's lesson. And as you have been already told, we are going to look at social studies. And today, our topic is people and population. So we're going to look at people and population, and I want you to pay a lot of attention because basically it is a topic that requires a lot of comprehension of things and concepts. First of all, we want to start by defining what people are, because I want to believe that there are some of you don't know what people are. If you're asked to define who people are, you might not be in a position to be able to define. But people simply refer to different groups. In a layman language, it refers to different groups of human race that are found in a place. So when you're talking about a place, we are not specific, we are actually general. We are talking about any place in the world. So those people who are found there and they are different races, we can refer to them as people. Now when you're talking about population, on the other hand, simply refers to the number of people. Population refers to number of people found in a place. And I'm also not very much specific, I'm general. So when you're talking about a place, you're talking about any place. The number of people who are found there, we refer to those people as population. It can be 1, 2, 3, 4, 10, 100, 1,000. And even ranging up to millions. So those ones are what? Population of that particular place. Now in our today's lesson, that was just a highlight of what we want to look at. But basically under people and population, we want to discuss the different language groups that are found in Eastern Africa. They say that you begin from home and then you advance to any other place. So we want to look at our nearest home and we want to look at the language groups of Eastern Africa. The language groups of Eastern Africa. And when we're talking about Eastern Africa, in our discussion today, we are basically going to look at Kenya, Uganda, Tanzania, and most probably Somalia. Now, the 4 language groups you want to look at here, or the language groups of Eastern Africa, are divided or categorized into 4. So we have the Bantus. 2, we have the Nilots. 3, we have the Kushites. And lastly, 4, we have the Semites. These are the 4 major language groups that are found in Eastern Africa. So today we want to begin by looking at the Bantus, because these 4 groups are very vast, and therefore we need to discuss each and every one of them individually so that you can be able to understand. We want to begin with Bantus. And the Bantus in Eastern Africa, we can say that it is the major language group, the largest. Let's say it is the largest language group. It is the largest language group. And according to social studies, these particular Bantus are believed, or their original homeland as far as social studies is concerned, is believed to be the Congo-Cameroon border. So their original homeland, is believed to be the Congo Basin. And Congo is found in central part of Africa. And the Congo I'm talking about here is what we initially used to call Zaire, whose capital city is Kinshasa. Because remember, we are having 2 Congos in Africa. We have Congo, whose capital city is Kinshasa, and then we also have the other Congo, whose capital city is Brazzaville. So I'm talking about Zaire, that used to be the initial name. Or if you didn't see Congo Basin somewhere, then you can talk about the Cameroon-Congo border. That is where historians tell us that it was the original homeland of the Bantus. Now the Bantus, as they were known and are known up to today, it is believed that their economic activity, the Bantu, their main economic activity, their livelihood, their main economic activity, or their livelihood for that matter, was crop farming. So their main economic activity was crop farming, what I will call agriculture. So they were farmers, basically. And when you're talking about farming, we are not confining ourselves to only planting of crops, no. We are talking about mixed farming, whereby they could rear animals and at the same time they could also plant crops as part of their livelihood. Now when we come down to Eastern Africa, these particular Bantus are found in 3 countries. Precisely, we're talking about Kenya, Uganda, and Tanzania. Now, how did they find themselves in Eastern Africa when we actually have already seen that their homeland was the Congo Basin? They found themselves here in Eastern Africa because they migrated from the Congo-Cameroon border or the Congo Basin due to population pressure. So it is the population back in their homeland that made them to shift and come to this place where they are right now or currently. So they migrated because they needed areas where they can be able to farm, where they can be able to rear animals. And since the places where they used to stay initially were very small, they were forced by circumstances to move and search for fertile land so they can be able to practice farming. So we are saying that the main reason for their migration The main reason for their migration was search for fertile land. So they migrated because of population pressure. Was population pressure. Since there were many in their original homeland, and they wanted to practice farming, they therefore moved out to come and find fertile areas where they can be able to practice farming. So they migrated so that they can be able to get fertile land. Migrated to come and get fertile land to practice farming. Correct. And when they were moving from the Congo Basin coming to Eastern Africa, they did not use only one route. They came in a variety of routes. So upon their coming to Eastern Africa, they used different routes. Routes here, I'm talking about ways. So we want to look, because that is what is going to build the basis of our discussion, bearing in mind that we are going to look at different Bantu speaking communities that are found in Eastern Africa. So where they are as we are talking right now depends very much on the route they used to get to those places. So there were four main routes. So the Bantus, we are saying, the Bantus used different routes to access Eastern Africa. They did not only use one route or one way. Since they were to come to different countries, we are talking about Kenya, Tanzania, and Uganda. Those ones who were entering Uganda used a different route. Those ones coming to Kenya equally used a different route. And those ones who are also going to Tanzania used different routes. So we are going to call our routes Route A, B, C, and D respectively. Now Route A, in this particular case, is the route that was between, or let me say, this is the route between Lake Albert in Uganda and Lake Tanganyika in Tanzania. Remember that Tanganyika is the old name of Tanzania before it merged with Zanzibar, because Tanzania was a country on its own called Tanganyika. When it merged up with Zanzibar, the two became Tanzania. So the route between Lake Albert and Lake Tanganyika forms our first route that we are calling Route A. And these are the people who, upon their entering in Eastern Africa, they settled in northern part of Tanzania. They settled in the northern part of Tanzania. I'm using the initial TZ to mean Tanzania. While at the same time, there are others who proceeded and entered Kenya. From this particular sentence, there's a conclusion you can be able to draw and say that these particular people who settled in northern part of Tanzania and those ones who came to Kenya, they share the same speech, or they can be able to understand each other owing to the fact that they came from the same place, but they only dispersed when they reached Tanzania. Some settled there and others decided to come over to Kenya because they didn't want the pressure there. Remember, we are saying that they were looking for fertile land to be able to practice farming and rearing of crops. Now, those ones who settled in Tanzania, the northern part of Tanzania, the ones I'm talking about here, examples of those ones who settled in Tanzania, we have the Hehe. So Hehe is a language group that is found in Tanzania. We also have the Chaga, and we have another language group we are calling the Pari. Sometimes you might find some other books calling this particular language group Pari or Pari. It depends with the writers of those particular books. But at the same time, there is no difference between Pare and Wapare. It's just a what? It's just a pronunciation or the way people prefer to call those particular language groups in those particular areas. And then examples of those ones who now proceeded on and entered Kenya, we are talking about the Eastern Bantus. Because remember, in my subsequent explanations, I'm going to talk about the two different types of the Bantus, because we have the Eastern Bantus and the Western Bantus. So basically, those ones who entered Kenya formed what we call the Eastern Bantus. We are talking about Agikuyu, Ameru, Ambere, and Aembu. So the Agikuyu, Ameru, Ambere, and Aembu are those ones who, upon the rest, the likes of Hehe, Chaga, and Pare residing in Tanzania, these particular four others proceeded on and entered where? And they entered Kenya. And then we are also adding others who we call them coastal Bantus. We have the Mijikenda. The word Kenda stands for 9. So meaning under Mijikenda we have other sub-tribes inside the one collectively referred to as the Mijikenda. And then we also have the Taita, who also are forming part of the coastal Bantu. The Taita, or you can call them Wataita, and the Taveta, who settled in Taita Hills. These are the people who used route what? Route A. And the route is between Lake Albert and Lake Tanganyika. Let us also look at those ones who used route B. During those times, we didn't have vehicles. We didn't have aeroplanes and railway. That is why the routes here, we are talking about water as a means of what? As a means of transport. So they could use either those who are, when I'm talking about those, I'm talking about D, H, or W, the those on waters to be able to move from one place to another. And then route B, that is route A. So route A, to just recap, we have talked about the Hehe, the Pare, and the Chaga settling in Tanzania, whereas Agikuyu, Aembu, Ambere, Ameru, the Mijikendas, who settled along the coastal part of Kenya, and the Taita and the Tavetas who went ahead and settled in the Taita Hills. Those ones used route A, that is between Lake Albert, Lake Albert is found in Uganda, named after the person who found that particular lake. Because remember, most of these lakes that we are looking at in Eastern Africa and Africa in general are named after those people who found them. Those are the missionaries and the explorers who came earlier, before the independence. And then we have route B. Now route B is between the same Lake Tanganyika, between Lake Tanganyika and the Lake Malawi. Lake Malawi is found on the border of Tanzania and Malawi. So these people, upon leaving the Congo Basin, or if you like it, you can say the Congo-Cameroon border, which is believed to be the original homeland, they now, as the rest used route A, these ones used route B, which is now Lake Tanganyika and Lake Malawi. So these ones settled now in southern Tanzania. They settled in southern Tanzania. Let us look at the example of these people. Those ones who used route B, they never passed to come to Kenya. Most of them settled in Tanzania alone. We have some books will write Wazaramo. Others will only write Zaramo. That is one of the language groups. And then we are also having the Yao. And lastly, we are having Makonde, or what you will otherwise hear some people calling them Wamakonde. So Wazaramo, Yao, sorry, I'm also forgetting another one. There are not three. We have Makonde or Wamakonde, and the last language group here is Waluguru. These are the people who used the route between Lake Tanganyika and Lake Malawi to be able to reach Tanzania and settle there. They were actually contented with settling in Tanzania because they found that place very fertile for them to be able to practice their crop farming. Now, and then we also have others who used route C. And I'd wish to remind you that the routes were the waters. We didn't have any other means of transport that was there during those times. So they used what? Water as a means of transport. So route B, we have said very well that most of them settled in Tanzania. We are talking about the Wazaramo, the Yao, Waluguru, and the Wamakonde. Now those ones who traversed through route C, they used, or they came in through or between Lake Malawi and the Indian Ocean. So those ones who are having atlases around them, they can be able to see these very well. Typically, we're talking about Lake Malawi. This is found in the southern part of Tanzania, in between it and the Indian Ocean. So they came through the south. And these particular people were followed by a very harsh group that we look at later on, called the Ngoni. Or they were followed by, not followed Ngoni, they were followed by Ngoni, who settled in the southern part of Tanzania. So in the exam, this is a very common question that usually come. They ask you which is the last language, a Bantu language speaking group that came from the south and settled in the same southern part of Tanzania. The answer to that particular question is the Ngoni. And I earlier on said it was a very harsh group, because in our subsequent discussions we are going to see why I'm referring to them as harsh, because they attacked their fellow Bantus. Now they migrated into Eastern Africa. They migrated into Eastern Africa through Mozambique. So I think they were also very harsh, because they had also been attacked by another group from the southern part of Africa we are calling the Zulu, or the Shaka, the Zulu of the Shaka. So they migrated into Eastern Africa through Mozambique. After having been attacked by the Zulu of the Shaka. And Zulu is a prominent language group that is found in South Africa. When you're talking about South Africa, you might understand it in two different ways. South Africa, a country, and South Africa, a place. So basically I'm talking about South Africa country. So the Ngoni were attacked by the Zulu of the Shaka. Now I wanted to say, that the Zulu is a prominent language group in South Africa, whose king was Shaka, a very ruthless leader who decided to attack these guys and send them away, because as you're going to look at, nobody is very comfortable with competition. So this guy felt that these guys were going to be a threat to him, and since he was very powerful, he decided to send them away. So it was the last group that came into East Africa from the Congo, because when they moved from the Congo basin, they had first of all settled in the southern part of Africa before later on being moved out by the Zulu. And then the last group here followed Route D. Now this route, most of the language group or the language speakers who followed Route D, most of them settled in where? In Uganda, because they came in between Lake Edward, and like I said, Edward is the person who identified this particular lake, and Lake Albert. All the two lakes are found in Uganda. And I always tell the pupils that this is the easiest language speaking group that you can be able to internalize, because they are the same people all around. Examples of these people are the Basoga in Uganda, Batoro, and Batoro happens to be a Swahili name. We have the Baganda themselves. We have the Banyankole. We have the Bagisu. Those are 5, isn't it? And then we have others now. These particular 5 language speaking groups, in relation to the other 3 I'm going to mention, who I'll refer to them later on as the Western Bantus in Kenya, they happen to share the same speaking language. We have the Abaluhia, Abagusi, and Abakuria. we had another extinct group that was called Abasuba. I say extinct because it was assimilated. So when you're talking about extinct by the other groups, and therefore they became extinct. So when you're talking about the three, or we're talking about the Western Bantus in Kenya, majorly we focus our attention on the Abaluya, Abagusi, and the Abakuria. Now, those are the examples of those particular language groups that came in through Route D. So, in our next discussion, most probably, we are going to look at the different reasons, apart from the main one that I've told you that they migrated because of population pressure. We want to look at other reasons that led to this particular Bantus moving from their original homeland, which is believed to be the Congo Basin, or otherwise the Cameroon-Congo border, to come to Eastern Africa, because they had so many other reasons. So, in our next discussion with you, we are going to look at the reasons for the migration of the Bantus into Eastern Africa. Today, basically, I was just introducing the language groups so that you know them. Way back, wherever you are, you can be able to ponder about those language groups, so that when we meet next time in this particular social studies discussion, we are going to look at the reasons for the migration of Bantus. I've only mentioned one, which is the main one, that they were actually moving, or they migrated because of population pressure from their original homeland. So we are going to look at the other reasons, apart from that one that is the main one, so that we can be able to understand, apart from the population pressure, there are also other factors that force them to do what? To move out. So as you ponder about that, you can also read ahead of the teacher so that you can be able to understand these reasons. So that when we be going through them next time, you can be able to comfortably follow so that you can understand very easily. Thank you very much for having spent that particular time, and I hope you did enjoy the lesson.
Quite indeed. I hope you've enjoyed a lot knowing the genesis of the people and everything. Remember, you're watching Shifaa Online TV. I'm Dalila Hamza. Remain rooted for the line-up programs for you.